paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, that's all right, refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And yes,
I don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
Were you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
Well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Brainstorm Brewery. Or, as it's called in this Pojo magazine I found in my closet today from the year 2001, Magicland. I'll put that right up to the camera there. This is a fascinating trip down memory lane here. I used to get these Pojo magazines because of the Pokemon on them, right? So this is this issue from 2001 has a way to play Pokemon like you're playing Survivor in the Australian outback. Because that's a crossover.
I got those magazines for their Yu-Gi-Oh deck list.
Oh, the Yu-Gi-Oh deck list. Okay.
Which like based on what you just said and what I said, that's me getting like Playboy for the articles. But like
well, I did the same thing. I used to get these I have like 10 of them we found in the closet today. Ben found them. And I would look at the prices. So for instance, a Charizard back then was worth $45 according to this magazine. Now they're like $300 or whatever. But this one is particularly interesting because it has how to play Magic. And keep in mind, this came out in 2001. Jason, were you playing Magic in 2001?
I was playing Magic in 1996.
So I'm going to take that as a yes then.
Yeah,
this is when Odyssey came out, I believe, is this set.
Wait, so just for backstory here, like you found this in your closet and you haven't touched it like since then? So like since 2001?
That's correct.
How did it survive multiple floods?
Well, it would have been in a box for a long time and then made its way onto a bookcase that was above the ground, and here it is. So I just wanted to look at some of this real quick in this magazine here. Go ahead, DJ.
I thought 2001 was the one thing you were supposed to never forget.
Oh, God. It's a particular day you're not allowed to forget. The rest of the year, whatever.
Are you referencing the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey? Because that had a monolith that got destroyed by monkeys, I think.
I have never seen that movie, so I technically can't forget it. So yeah, I guess I am talking about that.
It's an unforgettable
I can't forget it if I've never seen it.
It's Kubrick, man. Come on, get your ass to the.
It is a very famous film. I'll give you that.
That's still showing it.
The cards that they chose to highlight in this are Tidal Warrior, Rune of Protection Black, Raised Dead.
Is Tidal Warrior the one that can make a land into an island?
I think so. Idea. It seems to be a one mana. It's covered up, so I can't actually see what it does.
Yeah, that's a
here,
1 mana 1/1 that turns a land into an island, which is great. For like, there was a Merfolk deck back in the day that actually ran that. It ran a 3/3 shark for 2 mana that island home as the only non-Merfolk in the deck.
I was gonna say, Tidal Warrior sounds like a Merfolk like card. How do you not have that in your encyclopedia?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. It does look like that.
But you did that to like make their land into an island, and then you could hit them with all your Merfolk.
This has some very, very basic rules of Magic here. The general rule is to include 22 to 26 lands in a 60 card deck.
When I started, they said 20.
That's actually one of the points I wanted to bring up, is because I remember that being the thing, right? 20, 20, 20 is what everyone always said. 20 lands, 20 creatures, 20 spells.
20 spells, yeah.
Yeah.
It was bad advice.
Yeah. Well, here's the final piece of advice for Magicland. Scott Gerhardt is the author. I looked him up. He's on Twitter. I won't blow him up, but this was really neat that he was into this back then. The final piece of advice is to play a lot. The more you play, the better you get. I've learned more from losing than I ever have from winning. Go play tournaments where you may encounter the local champion. He may thrash you, but you'll learn from him. Well, there's your sexism right there. Only assume that men play Magic.
No, only men are the local champions.
Only assume that men are champions? Yeah, right. What's Magic? A TCG made by Wizards of the Coast. Each player represents a powerful wizard, battling for control of a magical plane of existence. Players construct their decks from more than 3,000 cards. So it's a different game every time you play. Wow. Interesting stuff.
I don't understand. You're a powerful wizard, right? But like, you're a wizard. You're just someone like wearing a pointy hat, like, I'm a wizard. And then something like Emrakul comes along, and it's the size of your whole planet, right? And Emrakul smacks you in the face with a tentacle hard enough to like break the moon in half, and you're like, ooh, 3/4 of my life points. Like, I don't understand. Your average human can get killed by like, squirrels and stuff like that, but you're like, I'm a powerful wizard.
All right, well, I've got
at least
one other
10 grizzly bears to kill me.
I've got one other, in the interest of, we're looking at old stuff, a walk down memory lane. I recently had the opportunity to write up the profiles for the Gamers Helping Gamers Scholarship. It's a really cool scholarship put together by a bunch of Magic names, old school pros, and really run by some awesome people. And it awards, right, and it awards scholarships to people every year, including our own Douglas Johnson, who was inaugural recipient of this back in 2012. And fear not,
just the worst possible endorsement. It's like, what did you do? Oh, I went to school for psychology with the help of a Gamers Helping Gamers scholarship. Cool. What do you do now? Magic.
Well, there are some pretty cool stories among the recipients that I wrote up, but I have here, and I'm going to put these two did not know this was coming, into the Discord channel here.
Oh, good.
I have a picture of Douglas Johnson when he won.
Yep. That is, yeah.
Oh, goodness.
JJ, you'll have to put this one up for people to see.
Oh, goodness.
I think even back then, they knew what they would get into. DJ, this appears to be you in about 45 Glissa the Traders.
I wrote my essay on Glissa the Trader. Well, part of it was about Glissa the Trader. And it was a story about like how I got into Magic and how like in fantasy games I always liked poison and like infect and like rogue-esque like DPS style like. And Glissa was like, I had the Mirrodin books at the time, borrowed from a friend. I was like, oh cool, yeah. Glissa's like this cool character. And then Scars is when I got into like the competitive side of things, and I was like, oh yeah, cool, this is a cool thing. Fun
fact, the backpack trader.
Yeah. Fun fact, one of the other parts of my article, like I had to write like an essay about just like if you could delete or like create one mechanic and why or something like that. I wrote about how Storm was just like the worst design mechanic in the game, and at the time I didn't put like 2 and 2 together and realize that John Finkel would be the one reading it.
Yeah, he likes to play Storm just a bit.
And so I was just like, oh, maybe he just liked the chutzpah or the aggressiveness of maybe he was like, oh yeah, maybe this essay is just one giant subtweet at me, and I like this kid's spunk.
This kid's
like
got balls.
He liked the cut of your jib. So
yeah, but yeah, if you're interested,
Ophidion's a bullshit card, and if you rely on that to win, you're a scrub.
If you are under 18 and listening to this podcast, number one, why? Number two, if you are going into your senior year of high school or whatever, I do highly recommend applying for this scholarship, or at least just throwing your name in the hat. Yes. Just because my guidance counselor told me not to, and then 20 grand later he was wrong. So
yeah, the guidance counselor discouraged you from applying to any and all scholarships.
He said that the time would be better spent applying to more likely scholarships, or more like entrenched, or more like historically precedented scholarships.
And I mean, I can understand the advice. I can understand the advice, but apply for every scholarship is typically the mantra, I think. I'll add this though: if you are, somebody in high school, or your kids are coming up on that age, it's worth looking into Gamers Helping Gamers. But more than that, if you would like to support Gamers Helping Gamers, you should Google it and do so. There's a bunch of really awesome people behind it. Having read the essays from the recipients while I was writing up the profiles over the last couple of years, there are some really neat stories there. It's all, we'll be highlighting those in an article on Cool Stuff Inc. coming up, but definitely go check that out. And this was not a pitch, this was not a plug, but while we are talking about awesome...
Yeah, give us your money, not them.
But
if you want to support Gamers Helping Gamers,
great.
You can give some of that money to a Gamers Helping Gamers scholarship recipient by going to patreon.com/PSP.
Like we're gamers, right? And our Patreon helps gamers.
This is year 10 of the Gamers Helping Gamers scholarship.
You
DJ.
are going to light your money on fire. It's not going to support anybody's scholastic endeavors. So why? You know how DJ's I failed to use my scholarship to get a degree story turns out. He didn't shoot it up, right? The money didn't go up his nose. He didn't decide he was really into RC cars, you know? You know how DJ's story ended. He's in the cruel, unforgiving grind of MTG Finance, and he will be forever because he has no other skills. But that's not a worst case scenario. That the money, if you give it to some
psychology degree, that doesn't count.
Yeah, man. If you give the money to some 18-year-old kid, who knows what they'll do with it? You know what DJ did because he's lame and he doesn't drink or have fun.
Oh, well, I can't imagine a more ringing endorsement than that for patreon.com/PSP. Jason, thank you.
I think Gamers Helping Gamers is
talk,
a good scholarship. What happened to DJ notwithstanding.
Great. That's very good.
It lifted DJ out of poverty. I never did that, so
there you go. We're going to talk about Strixhaven tonight. We got lots of previews for that, but first, it's everyone's favorite game, Breaking Bulk.
Breaking Bulk time. Breaking Bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, Breaking Bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking Bulk. The end.
All right, I've got one for y'all.
Ooh, let's hear it.
A Magic 2015 colorless uncommon.
Is it the colorless sliver?
It is not, although it's interesting you bring that up because the top 5 picks from that set, out of the commons and uncommons, the 5 most expensive cards are all slivers. There's Diffusion Sliver, Venom Sliver, Leeching Sliver, Constricting Sliver, and Belligerent Sliver. The uncommon cycle of slivers from Magic 2015 are all 50 cents to $2. But this is not that card. And
I know there's like a Gray Ogre Sliver, and I would not be surprised if it was worth money. Artifact from M15.
What rare did you say if it's common or uncommon?
Colorless card. Oh, so it's the Sliver token.
Nope.
Oh.
Is it the
it's an uncommon.
Is it Profane Memento?
It is Profane Memento, Jason. I actually was trying to trick you into guessing Darksteel Citadel by calling it a colorless
Hot
card.
Soup.
But, no, it's
a pick.
Or is Hot Soup? I love the name of that card. Is that card just a pick based on its name?
It's on the
Profane
list,
Memento,
so it's only like
though,
a quarter retail, but it's still a pick.
Yeah, it's not much. Yeah, Profane Memento is a 1-mana artifact. Whenever a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere, into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, you gain a life.
This used to be a modern card.
Yeah, it was. It's had occasional uses in different ways. It's pretty neat, but interestingly, the card's 50 cents, so it's a pick. But it's actually spiking right now. I would assume probably from Turgrid, for all I know. But it's actually spiking up. So who knows? This may be $1 pretty soon. If you've got any of them in your M15 bulk, go find
Probably.
them.
Yeah, I mean, I know I used to pick this. I used to pick these a couple of years ago just because like it was a sideboard in Modern Mill because that was a thing that you could like reasonably play in that format, and Modern was still like a
slow enough for that to matter.
Thing, a format where you could like reliably play an Ensnaring Bridge against an aggressive deck and feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I think Vito Thorn of the Dusk Rose is doing this. That's the most commonly played deck.
That would make sense.
Nothing else recent is even close. Kuruk maybe, but yeah, I think that's probably what's
maybe that's a pretty older one. Yeah. All right, Jason, DJ, when you want to jump in?
I have a blue Torment uncommon.
Not a clue what's in that set.
Compulsive Research?
No.
Oh, uncommon. Is it Compulsion?
No.
Circular
Long-term
Logic?
plans.
That was Scourge, Corbin, and no.
Circular Logic's common, right? Oh, geez, what is it?
I think Circular Logic was uncommon. No, it's common because it's Pauper. Circular Logic was a Pauper card.
Is it?
It was uncommon upshifted.
Is it a permanent or a spell?
It's a permanent. It's a
It's
creature.
not oh, it's a creature. Oh, is it it's cephalid illusionist?
Yeah, Corbin stole the thunder at the end there, but
Did it?
You got it.
Did it? I named a cephalid.
Legacy staple of Boomer era.
Yes, that's correct.
Back in my day, we didn't
mana.
have eggs. We had cephalids for breakfast, and we were happy to have them.
Oh gosh.
2 mana 1/1. When it becomes the target of a spell or ability, you mill 3. The combo is that you target it with another card that does not cost anything to target it, like a Shuko or a Nomad's Encore or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's Shuko or Nomad's Encore or whatever 0 mana X thing. And then you mill your deck, and then you combo out of your graveyard with various dredgy.
Yeah, you Narcomoeba and then Dread Return, whatever.
Yep. And it's still, I mean, it's still kicking. It's still a card that people who are like have just started playing Magic in the past less than a decade may not have heard of this specific card because it was a card from back then, but it is still worth picking for sure.
I don't
How do you
have a
feel
super
about-
old pick. I got a super new pick.
I like super new picks. Let's hear it.
This is from Guilds of Ravnica. It is a red uncommon.
I drafted a ton of that set.
And you should get this.
Electrostatic Wall.
No.
Pillar.
No.
The thing that pings opponents for 1, it's not that?
I have no idea what you're talking about. You're a complete idiot. You were nowhere close. It's actually Electrostatic Field. Which happens to be a wall.
It's like a 2 mana 0/5 defender. Whenever you cast an insert sorcery, it deals 1 to each opponent, right?
The card's great.
It's
love
a
that
pick, baby. And like Corbin's pick tonight, I wasn't picking these per se. I repicked my bulk. I went back. I last did a big bulk pick on like 25 those 5-row boxes. And I had to go back through looking for Chain of Smog, and I found stacks of stuff. I found Shrieking Drake, and I was like, man, I haven't picked this stuff since pre-Shoelane. So that's how long it's been since I repicked your bulk. So, hey, you got to repick your bulk. Stuff's going to pop up. I'm not saying sort your bulk. I'm saying dig through all of it because you're going to find stuff. I found Visions rares in there. So that was embarrassing.
I find that repicking your bulk is directly commiserate. The value in doing so is directly commiserate with both how much time and how much space you have. I am positive that of the 100,000 cards that I've picked over the past several months and shipped off and sold, I missed some stuff, right? There's obviously going to be an error rate or things like Chain of Smog that jumped afterwards. I think I found 2 of them. I pulled one a couple weeks ago. Oh, maybe I'll put this in my Bolus deck. And so somewhere in my bulk is floating in Chain of Smog. But when I hit 25, 30, 40,000 bulk cards picked, I want those boxes out of my house. So for me, it's worth it just to get rid of it after I've picked it. I keep all my bulk rares and foils to repick.
Sometimes I'll go into the LGS and the guy will be like, man, somebody bought an instant collection and they went out to their car and opened it and then they came back in here and bought the rest of them. And I was like, oh, what did I do? I was putting Morinfen and Gallowbraid in like, because I had like 6 of each of those. I was like, Morinfen and Gallowbraid, that's a dime, whatever. I'll let people think they're going to build some EDH deck. And then they're like, those are $8 each or something stupid now. And I'm like, well, what a difference a year.
DJ, do you repick? Do you repick your bulk, DJ? Or what do you do?
Well, I was going to give a friendly DJ tip. Like things that seem obvious, but you might not do. After you pick it, if you do not have plans to immediately sell it or move it, or you're just like that person who has the organized card catalog of, if you're somebody who accumulates bulk or still just has a lot of it in their basement or whatnot, and you do regularly, or even just irregularly pick it, right? Once you pick it and you put it back on the shelf, take a Sharpie and write on the side of the box when you picked it.
I've been doing that.
Because
that's a great tip.
That's just a thing that I told people and they're just like, oh, yeah, that's smart. And you might not think to do it. So like, it's nice to have 5 rows down in the basement where you just like take a peek at it and you're like, oh, last picked April 2020. cool, that now is probably a good time to go through this.
That's gonna have Ring of
you-
Zathrid in there for sure.
Yeah.
That's one of those I learned over the past couple of years, because I spent many years just accumulating collections that I never finished picking or never finished selling because of a billion other things going on. And in the pandemic, I've had time to sort of attempt to start to tackle it all. And I just open up boxes, and I have no idea if I'm looking at a box I already picked. I had no idea if I'm looking at a box of, I open it up and I'm like, I spent hundreds of dollars on this collection with these cards, of these modern cards. Whoops. Feels bad. And it's just a random box, and it's got rares and stuff in it, and with worth money, and it feels really bad. So I've learned the same lesson as I write exactly what it is on the side of the box, picked bulk, unpicked bulk, foils, sorted, and I put the date that I did it, because it's so helpful 2 years from now when I come across those boxes again, or whatever, who knows what's going to happen, to know what I'm looking at. And also so that you don't end up with things you spent real money on with the intention of flipping, just rotting away.
Value. You know what I do a lot? Yeah. I have piles of cards on my desk that I'm going through, and they're all just from different things. It's like, here's a bunch of stuff I bought at the LGS. Here's a collection. Here's part of a deck. And then I need to play webcam EDH, so I need to clear off the playmat, and I put everything in the nearest empty long box. So it's just just all kinds of different assorted shit in there. And then I find the box later. I was like, oh, there's that Gaia's Cradle I've been looking for 6 months, and there's a bunch of stuff that lost value, and there's a half-built EDH deck, and there's some tokens. So
it's so cathartic for me to sort that, though. It's like being an archaeologist. You get to recover your own past structural organization system. I love taking that 5-row where it's just collection A, collection C, deck half of deck D, and just all the this was 2,000 common uncommons that I picked, and you just meld it all into one giant birthday cake of this is now set sort of an alphabetized trend, and then it's a batch, and then it's an inventory batch, and you list it, and it's all one big happy. It joins the happy inventory family.
Yep, and then you find 10 swarm yards, and you're like, oh, well, and that's just got reprinted. Neat, I did it.
Yeah, that's happened to me too. I actually do. I have one sitting on my desk over there. But that's the good and the bad thing, right? Picking is fun. It's the treasure hunt. It's all those things DJ mentioned. Listing and selling stuff, even just buy listing, that's much less fun, which is why I have many boxes of it.
I'm so good at buying, I'm bad at selling. This is the same thing with wine. I have to buy new wine racks all the time because I buy it and then I just never drink it.
Well, that's wow. You're just on your way to being a
power move.
An old rich white guy. Look at these bottles of wine on my 37 wine racks.
That's a 15-year-old bottle. Is oh yeah, I bought that at my honeymoon. My wife doesn't drink red, and every time I'm like, man, I really love to crack into that, but I'm like, I'm not gonna drink a whole bottle of wine by myself. What the hell? So then it just sits in a wine rack, and then it's dusty, and I rotate it every year. And that's,
those are you're just saving them for Lily's house party 10 years from now.
Oh my god,
that is it, DJ. You are right.
Oh my god, it's like you drank a $97
bottle
of red,
dude,
and then threw it up.
Ooh. I can't wait to see what DJ does to the guy who gets his limited edition beer. She's he comes to the party while Jason's out of town. Hey, you got any beer at this party? No, I'll help myself. And they find Jason's beer fridge with all his good stuff. Jason just loses it. Jason goes to jail that night. He's like, I'm not pissed that you had a party, but I am livid that you touched the beer fridge. How close are we,
Weed
Jason?
is legal now, and you drank my beer?
Hit that one on your kid. Yep. Let's see how that goes.
Weed is legal. You idiot.
Back in my day, we had to we went to jail for.
We got a bottle of an empty pill bottle full of Mexican mids with seeds and stems, and we made do with that. You know how good your weed is, and you're drinking my beer? You can't even appreciate my beer.
I can see the neon glow of the dispensary from this window.
It's open 24 hours.
They will deliver it by drone. Back in
It
my
really
day,
does.
we didn't have
It
drones.
really
We had
does
to
remove
have-
a lot of barriers.
We had to get on Uber Eats and have a struggling musician deliver it.
Well, that was. I have to say, when we started Breaking Bulk, I never imagined it would end in any other way. But now that it has, let's move on. Let's talk about yes.
If you think of like the breaking is a grinder and the bulk is like the plastic baggie, then like you're like breaking bulk was always a metaphor, Corbin. It was always a metaphor.
Today I learned. And if you want to learn a lot more, you can go to mtgstocks.com. That is what we use when we look at all of our breaking bulks. When we talk about Profane Memento and we say, hey, why is this card spiking from 50 cents up? That's all thanks to looking at MTG Stocks, which has the price data for cards going back years. It has the list. It has the release dates of sets near on the graph. So you can look at a card and combine it with information you find on EDH Rec or, a competitive resource if it happens to be tied to that. You can really deconstruct the value behind a card. So this is something I've been kicking around. We're going to have a feature on it in a future episode, but I like the idea of diving deep on why something is a pick or why something is moving in prices. So when it's not necessarily always obvious. So keep that in mind. But in the meantime, go to mtgstocks.com, use it for the interest, use it the interest page to see what has gone up and what has gone down. Use it to see what all those fancy new cards from Strixhaven are costing. And it's really the best resource across the internet for all of that.
MTG Stocks makes Corbin seem like he's good at Pick of the Week. If you go to the Pick of the Week tracker, Corbin's he's keeping up with me and DJ, and he owes that to MTG Stocks.
It's true. We have different approaches. I like to be very data-driven, and I like to see a graph that looks like what a graph looks like when a card's about to go up. So I have to say, though, some of my picks of the week this year have been pure wishful thinking. That's okay. One day we'll play Pioneer again. I promise. Maybe.
Oh, man. Yeah. Pioneer stuff. What if?
Yeah. People forget that format even exists.
It is... What's the good metaphor for this? Like
tell us, Kenny.
What?
The Jet Smith.
I still don't get that reference, but so
it's Benny the Jet Rodriguez. You keep.
Yeah, we know.
Yes, that's a reference I get. Jason understands me. It's just like a Disney story. Like this podcast is Cinderella, or like Magic is Cinderella. Mm-hmm. And then like Pioneer is Cinderella, and then like Historic is all like the stepsisters who get better treatment.
What are we in this analogy?
We're the mice.
I did assume we were the mice.
We're an anthropomorphic creature in this.
Yeah, I definitely assumed we were the mice when I asked.
Well, there are two mice, right? And then,
or like one of us is like a talking cupboard or something like that. Or
that was Beauty and the Beast. There weren't talking cupboards in Cinderella, you idiot.
Yeah, duh.
Corbin's a pumpkin that gets turned into a stagecoach.
I'm in.
And then back into a pumpkin.
I like Halloween. I'm in. Anyways, something we are going to be playing a lot with is Strixhaven. So we got the big dump on Strixhaven over the past few days. We've got to see the big dump. We got to see Paulo Vitor Damarosa's preview card, but world champion card. He's the world champion and got to design a card with his face on it, and it's actually pretty good. It adds this new effect to white. It's a 3-mana 3/1. It's in white. It has flying, so it's sort of reminiscent of Vendilion Click. When Elite Spellbinder enters the battlefield, look at target opponent's hand. You can exile a non-land card from it. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may play it. A spell cast its way costs 2 more. So it is an interesting hate bear. It's a 3/1 flyer, and it'll tax a card out of someone's hand. And the reason I bring this card up is it may or may not be powerful enough to make it in constructed formats. It's certainly very good. But what do you all think about this? We've talked a lot on this podcast, and everyone's talking about it, what Wizards is going to do for white, because white as a color is just so underpowered in Magic and all of this stuff. This seems like a neat little effect. I mean, do you like this sort of take on taxes, and is this the kind of thing that would help improve white in Commander?
Yeah, it's this is a very good design, and I would be very surprised if this and Warding or Ward didn't come out of the same meeting. Like I think there was a realization or a sudden insight or something like that of just like the wiggle room that they have when it comes to like tax effects versus flat non-interactivity.
Right.
Just like turning hexproof into Ward or like what's the transgress the mind into like this, where it's like a permanent exile being less fun or less interactive or whatever. When this like it's just like
well, and it's targeted, right? Like it's not a generic tax effect like say a Thalia. It's really targeted and it hits anything as you look at their hand.
And it's also not a title
sure.
color where they deal with the creature and then they get the card back. This permanently makes the card more expensive.
Yes, that is what's truly neat and innovative about this design is that it lasts forever. And it only, it's a little different than sort of, and I like that it's not just strictly better because say the card said, look at someone's hand, and then that spell costs 1 more to play, as long as Spellbinder's in play. What's interesting is the Spellbinder keeps it costing more taxed after the Spellbinder leaves battlefield, but it doesn't tax any other copies of the card in their hand.
Yeah.
Or that they might draw. So it's surely sort of a new design space.
That could be like a weird rules thing, though. If someone like you say, "Oh, this spell costs 2 more," and then you play it, and you're like, "Oh, this is a different one."
Yeah, well, yeah. It says a spell cast this way costs 2 more to cast, so it has to be cast from exile that way.
It exiles it. Never mind, doesn't put it back in the hand, and then okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's just actually a new design space. So in white, and that's why I thought it was interesting.
For some reason, I thought it stayed in their hand, but they had to pay more to play it.
Yeah, there's also Strict Proctor, which is a 2-mana 1/3 flyer in white. Whenever a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability to trigger, counter that ability unless its controller pays 2. They Spirit Cleric. So, what is your take on these sort of taxing effects in white in command? Well, just in Commander in general, Jason.
They're fine. I like this kind of thing. I like buying turns. I like Kismet type stuff in white. I really like when their stuff just comes into play tapped and it just makes it less effective. Having to pay more mana, them having to, the more stuff you do, the more you have to pay, which means it slows down the player doing the most stuff. So what it does is it brings the best player in line with the table by so they can't just chain a bunch of stuff on a real big turn. That big turn, everything they're trying to do is tax. So what it really does is it slows down the fastest player. And that's what I like to do in white and EDH. You kind of level the playing field a little bit and keep that green deck from just ramping out so much away from everybody else that nobody can catch up. So the stuff that slows them down, I think is good. I think it's better than, I think people don't like Gaddock Teague so much because it's no, you literally can't do this at all.
Right.
But some of the stuff is this costs more. You can't do this. This comes into play tapped. Making stuff come into play tapped is great. It shuts down a lot of the really annoying combo decks, but just makes everybody play the same slower game of Magic, which is fine. So I think if this is the kind of stuff they're going to do, it makes me less worried than them trying to reinvent the wheel and do something really powerful for white. Because I was worried when they're we were going to address white and Commander. I was like, oh man. They're either going to print something like Balance or they're just, I don't know. I liked, was it Champion of the Accord or whatever? That's the kind of stuff I like.
Keeper of the Accord.
Keeper of the Accord. Verge Ranger, stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff white should be getting, and that white is slowly approaching the kind of effects that make white a little bit more competitive in EDH, not just as a support color. Yeah. And when they kind of said, "Oh, we're going to address it," I was like, "That scares me," because I feel like they were getting there on their own. Mm-hmm. But this kind of seems like a natural progression. They just went back to what does white do that it isn't doing as well as it could be, and could it just do that better versus completely reinventing the wheel. So I think Strict Proctor is going to be less unfun to play against than something like what's the White Arcane Lab? Rule of Law,
but
yeah,
The Torpor Orb is a card that I've played in a couple sort of Staxy, prison type taxes decks, but that's different in that it's not a tax. It just says no. And the big difference between that and Strict Proctor is that you can't reclamations. You put these answer cards in your deck like a Rex Sage to answer stuff, problematic artifacts, except all those cards that destroy artifacts in your deck don't destroy Torpor Orb because it stops them from triggering. Whereas Strict Proctor, and in this case it's a creature, so it's easier. But say you have like a Chupacabra in your hand, right? Like a Ravenous Chupacabra. You can just pay 6 for it, and you can then take the Strict Proctor off the field. So if the tax effect from the Strict Proctor matters to you, you can slow yourself down to take care of it, which is sort of a difference. It's the difference between taxing and just saying no. And taxing makes for way more better gameplay.
But the person having that ridiculous blink turn.
Yes.
This doesn't stop you from being able to do anything at all. It doesn't stop you from interacting. It stops the player that was casting Rite of Replication on Muldrifter.
Yeah.
So like,
well,
I think
honestly,
the stuff that harms the player the farthest ahead is the kind of stuff I like. It makes decks more fair, and if that's what White does, then I'm glad that's what they're doing. I'm glad that's the approach they're taking versus some of the other things I was worried they might do.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how like a self-aware Strict Proctor is the worst kind of teacher?
Yes.
Like I'm fine. I've had strict professors in my career, my college courses, hashtag sponsored by GSG or whatever. But like if they're strict and that's just the way they are and that's just the way they teach, that's fine. But like somebody who like on day one they slam the book down and they like glare across the room and they're like, guess what?
30% of you are going to fail this.
Yeah. No, just stop. Like, number one, you're trying too hard, and number two, just stop. Like,
I had a professor like that, who, and it was of all things, a speech class, like a public speaking class. And at the beginning, this person was very outspoken in their political beliefs and openly dared students to write things challenging them and told them that they would, that was a bad idea, which then encouraged people to do it, and they typically did not get great grades. But it's also the same professor who had the strict attendance policy. So you're right; it was just that same vibe you're talking about, just the absolute. This class is going to be miserable for you, and I guarantee if it's not, I'll make it that way, sort of thing.
That's why I'm glad I majored in science, because all my classes were like 30% of you will fail because the class is hard and I'm a very easy grader and there's no attendance policy. I can't imagine you'll pass this class if you don't show up. Like if you could study this on your own in the dorm and learn it, good for you.
Well, speaking of learn, what do you all think of the learn a lesson mechanic, and will this ruin EDH because now everyone has 15 cards in there?
The CAG is not going to say you get a learn board. But also none of the spells are good enough for it to matter, really.
I imagine this is a limited gameplay mechanic.
Yeah.
There might be one weird rare, one super powered card that comes around and everyone poops their pants over it, and then like it doesn't matter. Like there's been a lot of cards like that in the past ever.
Like Chain of Smog. And Liliana.
I mean, there's a lot of them. I think Learn it's well designed for a limited gameplay.
I think it's cool.
And that's fine. I still don't like just the whole like wizard school motif for Magic. Like this set is like increasingly turning me off with more and more spoilers just from like the flavors that I don't even care about the alternate universe. Like I like Ruby. Ruby is one of my favorite shows, but like I'm just not a fan of like this set's I don't know, like world building is the best
aesthetic.
The robot that does campus tours is a bit on the nose for me.
Why is that? Because it's like every tour guide at every college in real life. Is it too?
The thing about the learn lesson mechanic, and for those who don't know, when you cast a learn spell, a spell with the ability learn on it, you can reveal a lesson card from outside the game, put it in your hand, or discard a card to draw a card. So it's got all kinds of... So the card I specifically am kind of looking at is Field Trip. It's a 2 mana, 2 generic and a green sorcery. Search your library for basic forest, put on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle, and it has learn. So this is nothing crazy. It's a 3 mana rampant growth for forests only, but this is the kind of card I could see like a mono green decking command, like an Omnath decking commander wanting to play because it gives you access to lessons, which can be removal spells and stuff like that. So do you have to have a lesson board or something in Commander? Like if I just put a learn card in my deck, would I be able to pull out a lesson card if I cast it? Like, well, I'm not sure how that works.
At the time of writing, Charlotte Sable of the CAG is currently working on let's not have this be a thing. Let's not have learn boards be a thing in EDH article on Commander's Herald. So it should be out by now. You can go to commandersherald.com and check that out. The fact that someone on the CAG is saying that kind of makes me think that there's a good chance that that's not going to be allowed. You're not going to be like, here's my 100 card deck, and also here's every learn card just in case,
every lesson card,
every lesson card that I could reasonably cast, and I'm playing, what is it, Sparring Regimen or something like that in my white deck, and I have the ability to go get academic probation and some of the other stuff. Like, I don't know.
I don't want to sit down next to somebody if they have a mono green Omnath commander. I see a Living Wish on top of their deck, and then they have a binder with them. Like that's not why we're here. That's nobody cares. Stop.
100 cards is so many.
It's just such a barrier to entry, or not to entry even, because like it doesn't affect you if you're not doing it. But
barrier to gameplay.
Yeah. I mean, if you, it's
an arms race at that point,
Yeah,
and it's a decision tree with a million branches. Like, that the person who does that is going to pretend to think for 30 minutes about what to get with their wish board, when in reality they have no idea what they're doing. They just want to seem smart.
Yeah, I do think that the lessons, look, none of them are powerful, but one of them is a 3 mana scry 2, then draw a card, and people will play a 3 mana rampant growth if it comes attached to that.
There's the rare one, Academic Probation, where like you could be cheeky and prevent somebody from playing their commander next turn, but like again, that's not why we're here. That's not.
Yeah, I'm.
And then you bring it back, which is a move called Double Secret Probation.
Well, that's it's good to know how you all feel on those. I kind of agree.
But also what we think doesn't matter. So I'm taking my cues from someone on the CAG.
Well, I think that's an even smarter idea. Another card I want to mention, because it's just going to be an absolute staple, is Rip Apart. And this is going to be a pick for a long time. Rip Apart is it's a red and a white sorcery. Choose one. It deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker, or destroy target artifact or enchantment. So a Braid, which is just red, but it deals 3 damage to a creature or destroys an artifact, is a very heavily played card across a lot of formats. And Wear Tear, which is a red-white split card, destroy target artifact and or enchantment, you can fuse it, I believe, sees a lot of play. This is those 2 cards mashed into one, albeit at sorcery speed. But it is extremely powerful, and it's definitely going to be a pick. Is this a commander playable card, Jason? It's not that far off, right?
Sure, but like the deal 3 to a creature is not great. But I mean, in red-white,
this is not irrelevant.
This is a great
tool
in red-white. Yeah. Like, but you don't have any problems like having something that like Crush Contraband is the card you compare this to in Commander, not a Braid per se. And like this isn't
I think
Contraband except in that like it's got more modes, but I kind of like something.
I think it's definitely aimed at competitive play
usually, right? So it's fine. But the thing is about Commander, you don't need to optimize Commander decks. I think that's what people don't get. Like people are going to play this because they opened it in playing limited, and then they have it on their desk. There's so much at EDH that's just like, this is the card I have. So like I think it'll see a certain amount of play just because like new people come to EDH all the time and they will have these.
And I think it's going to be a modern staple. I think modern Pioneer staple.
I would like to like open up the BSB bank and withdraw my one hot take of the week.
Oh no.
Oh, you're gonna spend it. All right, let's do it.
I know people have already fallen in love with the Japanese, and I've already like pooped on this set, right? So I'm already wading in waist deep. I know people love these mystical archive Japanese cards. These are gonna be miserable for me. From a logistics and like shipping and pulling and like me paying person who doesn't know Magic very well to pack orders and stuff. These are miserable. And it's weird because like the past 3 springs have all had a very Japanese focused thing, whereas 2019 was War of the Spark. It had the Planeswalkers. Ikoria was like the Godzilla things, and those are both more fine from a logistics standpoint. And remember, I am only talking about this from a perspective of like, this is literally my job, and it is my way to put food on the table, to like figure out the most efficient and like sophisticated way possible to like pack, ship orders.
Well, I think this is interesting information to people, right? It's not that you hate the idea of them existing. It's just in reality, you are going to have to deal with them. And I think
we've
that people
hated
are
a
interested in what goes in.
We've hated mystery boosters and the list and endless reprints. Like
I like the mystical
15
archives.
different versions of the same card. It's like, there's the extended art, and the extended art foil, and the preview pack, and the
and like there's
exactly too many to name.
Issues with all those for sure. So like if you open up like any sort of like spoilery site or whatever, Mythic Spoiler, whatever, right? And you look at these cards and you don't know specifically which one is which, it can be very hard to tell, like if you don't have references or just like collector number memorized, because you have the mana cost and then you have the color. And you might have hints in the text box. You might have hints.
As somebody who hasn't seen these, the first 2 on Mythic Spoiler are a generic and a black, and there's 2 of them, and I don't know which one's which.
Right, like they could be Doomblade, they could be Eliminate, they could be
Demonic Tutor. Yeah,
they could be Demonic Tutor. There's so many. If you don't know Magic, if you're not fully seeped into the Magic universe and have your finger on the pulse of what every single one of these is, there are going to be mistakes. And as a player, you're going to order these from stores and get the wrong one a lot.
Yep.
But like the War of the Spark ones, they're not English, but they're not hard to figure out. One of them has a picture of Narset on it, and she's like, Kalai! And you're like, oh yeah, that's a Narset. Like, I can figure that out. I can look at the other Narset and then connect 1 and 2, and you're like, oh yeah, that's Narset. Or like, it's still Sarkon in the picture.
Yeah.
And the Godzilla cards have the English card name somewhere on them.
Well,
all of that.
I think the answer is learn Japanese, right? Because all the Japanese vendors are like, this is
you
great. This is so much easier for our customers.
Would it kill you to learn another culture?
I'm just saying that like there's these 2 cards, and they both have 1 red mana cost, and then that's it. And there's a 1 in the text box a couple times, and that's it. Like the art has fire on both of them, and the art's both really pretty. But like from a logistics standpoint, if you are hiring an employee who is not deeply versed in Magic, you are going to get the wrong one of these a lot.
Yeah, that could definitely
happen. For people who don't know, how do you get the Japanese versions?
They are in collector boosters. Like you can get these in English booster packs.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I love most of we can talk about the Faithless Looting art if we really want to dig up some controversy here, but I love the Mystical Archive stuff. I love the art on all this. I really like, and I've come around to this a little bit. I like that these are masterpieces, but they're masterpieces of $1, $2, 50-cent cards, which is kind of cool. Because if you think about it, there's lots of staple-y cards for Commander that if they're not expensive, you never got a cool version of, right? And now you do. You've got a really neat, gift of estates, that type of thing. Adventurous Impulse, I mean, these are just Approach of the Second Sun. These are not cards that you've ever gotten masterpieces of before. And I like that they're kind of moving that down. Now, I don't know if anyone really needed a masterpiece revitalized, but that's neither here nor there. Is there anything else from the set? And we'll have the full set review next week, everybody. But is there anything else you all have seen that you want to talk about today?
I am ready for my inbox.
Please send all of your feedback and angry responses to DJ, or if you agree with them, let us know too, at brainstormbrew@gmail.com. We will try to get to those in the next couple weeks. So let us know what you think.
No. Put it in a YouTube comment.
There you go. Get a YouTube comment right down there. Right down there.
Deserves to go.
Yep.
It's just a melting pot. Like, have you ever heard of the infinite soup or whatever, where it's been going for like tens of thousands of years and people just chuck stuff in it and like people still eat it? That's YouTube comments. Just throw your drumstick or throw your like your vegetables or whatever into that melting pot of our YouTube comment section.
Good to know.
And while you're there, why not like and subscribe and finger blast the bell icon so you get a notification whenever we post a new video. It won't necessarily be an episode of the podcast. We play video games on the internet. We have highlight videos of that. We have all kinds of stuff. Maybe we'll do Brain Bites again. You don't know. Maybe we'll tackle the complicated subject of, did Jason Felix plagiarize in his Crux of Fate art? He did.
Yeah, there's certainly some spicy drama. Maybe we'll become a drama channel.
We could
let us know in the comments.
If we were a drama channel, can you imagine if we just did the opposite of all of our opinions and became wrong all the time? We would have hundreds of thousands of subscribers.
That might be true.
We're so dumb. Why are we doing it the hard way? You know how hard it is to be right a lot? It's hard.
I personally know, Jason, but not everyone might.
Well, you know something about Jason Felix that is also true. He allegedly plagiarized. He did something very bad. But you know what else is true about him? He's not one of the artists you can find on originalmagicart.store. There are some incredible artists on this page. I'm scrolling. I control F Felix just to be sure. I was 99% sure he was not on that website, and I was right. There's so many other good ones on here that you can choose from. Darken, one of my favorite artists. Hey, I don't even like know which recent cards he's done because I've become so detached from reality, but I know he did Bloodghast, I know he did Birthing Pod, and those playmats in prints are on there. You can get the Bloodghast playmat. Do you remember Bloodghast? That card was so good. It was so good. There's so many playmats and prints here. It's ridiculous. Yarok is sold out, I'm sorry to say. You can't get that one. All of you people who are raging at us for loving the Panharmonicon tax cards, I know there's a lot of you, and you can't buy the Yarok. I'm sorry. Like, that one's gone, sold out. But all the rest of these you can buy. And you
selling
can get
out is a real possibility. You cannot snooze or you will lose. Go to the Original Magic Art website now. If you see something you think you might like, buy it before it sells out. You don't want to be one of those people that wants a Yarok mat and they're like, they can't. You got mana burned by Yarok because you delayed.
Yeah, I mean, listen to the sellouts. They're gonna sell out. Like, just listen to the sellouts. There's going to be a big button on the screen. I don't know how YouTube annotations work, but I think you can still just make a link right on the screen for convenience of use. And somebody's going to put that there, and it's going to link to the website, and then it's going to the code is Brew Crew. It's 8 whole letters. You can figure out how to spell it.
That's right. Well, thank you for that, DJ. that was great. I liked that one.
That was quite a segue.
It was. Speaking of things that are going up, I lost it. I said something a minute ago I was going to use, and I lost it. Regardless, it's time for pick of the week.
Dude. It's
time for pick of the week.
All right, great. You did it.
Pick of the week. Pick of the week. Pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
All right, I'm trying something brand new for pick of the week that I've never tried before.
Go on.
Sometimes people say something I really don't agree with, and then I argue with them, and sometimes I'm wrong. And most of the time I'm right, but those few times I'm wrong, somebody like clips it and they're like, "Ooh, here's a screenshot of you being wrong in a tweet 2 years ago." So what I've decided to do is, on the off chance that I'm wrong about this one, I just didn't say anything. I didn't agree with the person, but I didn't say anything. And now I'm going to see how it works. Because, like, if my initial feeling was wrong, I might learn to reevaluate how I look at things. Somebody was saying there's a ton of spirit stuff.
I was going to bring this up next week.
And Kaikar could go up. I was like, you think Kaikar is going to go up because of some spirits? And I was like, I don't know about that. And then I went to EDH Rec to kind of like come up with some data to dunk on him. And like, I don't know if there's the kind of data to do that. Kaikar is built. It's in the top 10 of the last 2 years. Kaikar's built a lot. Kaikar is built about as much as Yarok, which is an $11 card, and it's built twice as much as Omnath, Locus of the Royal, which is an $11 card. But Kaikar is a $3 card. Was it printed a bunch more than those cards? It was not. For whatever reason, you have Omnath, Locus of the Royal, and Yarok the Desecrated, both mythics, both legendary creatures from that set, you know, and they're like $11. And then Kaikar is the same price as Kethis they had in hand, and Kaikar is built 5 times as much as Kethis. I think Kaikar might be a little bit undervalued. So if anything does happen, like people like, oh, we got a bunch more spirits. We got ways to, you discard 7 cards from your hand, you can make 7 spirits. Oh, and then Kaikar gives you 7 mana to play your new spells. That seems really important. So, I don't know. When that person said Kaikar is going to go up on the basis of a few more spirits getting printed, I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But now I'm looking at it and I'm like, all the data that I would normally use to make these proclamations is kind of pointing towards Kaikar maybe being a little bit underpriced. So either Yarok and Omnath are, you know, overpriced, or Kaikar, which is built less than Golos, which is an $8 non-mythic.
Yeah,
I don't think Kaikar can be half the price of Golos, so I kind of think it could potentially go
The
up.
only secret printing Kaikar has is the promo pack with the little stupid Planeswalker symbol in the horror of the art. But like, I agree that doesn't. There's not 5 times as many of the supply of that to make up for the price difference. So I 100% agree. I think Kaikar is really interesting.
I'll also add that Super Secret Redacted set is coming out at some point in the next year. And that plane happens to be known for a lot of spirits. So I also noted the seeding of spirits into both the Boros identity here in Strixhaven, but also just in general.
What are they dead former students?
And teachers, I believe. And just like...
Yeah.
I think it's also just like the cultures and like societies of the past, I think, is the bit.
There are a bunch of like dead people that hang around Hogwarts, right? So maybe this is a Harry Potter.
Well, Wizards has made very clear that this is not a primary school. This is a university with 5 different colleges. That's very important.
I also have a pick from Super Secret Redacted set / spirits theme / It's not really a spirit theme card because it's black. But this is one of those, sometimes my picks of the week are just like card that I steadily sold out of over the past week and a half. And I just tend to notice when packing orders and when checking sales data and when restocking things from backstock, all that. It's just like, oh, I sold way more of these than usual. It's either Saison or Saison. Saison, Perverter of Truth. It is a big old black legendary creature from Champions of Kamigawa. It has no other reprints. It has steadily crept up, probably about 20 or 30% over the past 3 months or so. And that just seems like it might be suddenly a $10 to $15 card. This is not a buy a bunch of them at $7 or $8 pick, but it is definitely a, I believe, I think the term the kids are using nowadays is it hodl? Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, you hodl. That's not even a new term. That's a 2018 Bitcoin spike term.
That's
but yes,
a new term.
Hodl away.
So if you have these, or if you just happen to have one in your commander deck, just keep your eye on the price of it. It might just be worth a lot more in the near future. I checked EDH Rec. I did my research. I did my stuff, and I mean, all the Turgid decks are playing it, sure, just because it's a very powerful mono black thing that just does a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's because of Marilyn of the Morn song and her recent stuff with the what's the black card, Scheming Symmetry, and there was another card that made her spiked recently. It was, what was it? There was a black card that made Marilyn spike, or as an artifact or something like that.
I don't remember what
I remember it
I know what you're
happening,
talking
but
about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, it was opposition agent.
Yeah. Like maybe like people are playing Marilyn with this card or something. I don't know, but like it's just a card that I had 7 or 8 of in stock for the longest time, not selling, and then over the past week and a half, I sold a few for $6. Oh, I sold a few for $6.50. I sold a few for $7. I sold a few for $7.50, and then I was out of stock. And so that's the kind of pick of the week I tend to pay attention to a lot.
Yeah, that's great.
Cool.
I'll jump in next. I'm going to go with an interesting pick, but Wishclaw Talisman from Eldraine. It's the weird, you tutor, but then you have to give, it's an artifact you tutor, then you have to give it to your opponents. But I've played a fair amount, and I don't remember the card, maybe you all will know it, but it's an artifact from one of the commander sets the last few years that you gave it to an opponent, and then an opponent could choose to tap it to like draw a card, put a land into play, and you also got to do that.
I know the card you're talking about, but I don't know the name.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called. But the point is, I've sat down at a lot of tables where opponents have just decided to hook each other up with it. And that's a thing. And Wishclaw Talisman kind of functions the same way. I'll let you tutor if you let me tutor. You give it back to me after I give it to you. That sort of thing. And regardless, the card occasionally pops up in standard or historic or whatever as a combo piece, since it is in fact a tutor. It's just got some different ways that it could be abused. It's gone from about $1 to $1.50 over the past 6 months or so. So it kind of looks like it's come off its bottom of $1 there, that near bulk rare status. It's not bulk, and it probably will never be, and it's probably just going to slowly climb, and eventually this will be a random $4 or $5 card from Eldraine.
I like this card a lot because there's a trend in Magic of like making tutors with downsides, then wizards wiping the sweat off their foreheads. They're like, phew, we finally made one that they can't abuse.
Right, exactly.
And they're always wrong. Like you're gonna let your opponent tutor on the next turn? What next turn, you dummy? And then like there's going to be a combo deck with this someday where you get to play as a 4 of, and then they die, and like and then you reach across the table and grab your Wishclaw Talisman back, you sign the match slip, and then you walk away. Like,
yeah.
That's why this gets played in Vintage, because it's like there will be no other turn. I go and get Paradoxical Outcome, and now this game is over.
Yep.
Yeah, so I like this just because it's 2 mana and it says the word tutor on it, and it's
very cheap.
Toot.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. All right. Well, I think that wraps us up for the week, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Reminder, you can check out our sponsors, mtgstocks.com and originalmagicart.store. And if you want to support us directly, you can go to patreon.com/BSB. Everybody, thank you so much for listening to the show. We'll see you next week.
Twitch button, click.
What?